Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cloud 2.0, navigating your cloud strategy and building a roadmap. We want to thank you guys for joining us today. I know busy schedules and things like that. Sometimes it's hard to make time for these, but we view this as a really valuable subject to a lot of people and a lot of organizations, and wanted to help provide some information and some direction to any initiatives you have on your cloud strategy. So the two of us speaking today are going to be Rick Baucom, CTO and COO with Bross Group, and myself, Justin, Director of Marketing here at Bross Group. And basically today, a little overview. We're going to be discussing private cloud, hybrid cloud, public cloud, linking your mission to the cloud, and kind of how to get there. And Rick will definitely go on this subject here in a minute. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please fill out the chat window on the side with anything, any technical issues, Q&A section for questions as well, and we'll do our best to kind of chime in and answer those as we go through this event. So Rick's going to be the primary speaker at this event, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce Rick. Little background on Rick. He's a technology thought leader qualified by 20-plus years, leading enterprise software implementations, process improvement programs, cross-functional projects, and business integration efforts. A recognized leader in the association community, developing IT strategies, matching them with organizational goals. He's a certified information systems security professional. He's completed degrees in finance, kind of have a typo there, completed degrees in finance, human resources, and business at Regis University. Currently serves as virtual CIO at multiple organizations. So Rick, I know you're already laughing at me because of my typo, but go ahead and take it from there.
Thank you, Justin. Just confirm that you can hear me if you would.
Yep, I can hear you.
Great, great. Yeah, it's probably my typo, so I won't blame you for it. Thank you all this morning for joining us. Welcome from the Mile High City. We're enjoying a little bit of the first green shoots of spring here, so we're all pretty excited about the pending spring and losing some of the snow. So I'm sure you guys, hopefully wherever you are experiencing some of the same. Justin told you a bit about my background. I've been at the information security, information technology game for about 35 years now. And Bross Group has been around since 2004. For those of you who've dealt with us before, you know that we engage in services kind of across the board, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But our platform for infrastructure includes some world-class data centers in Denver, Phoenix, and Edison, New Jersey. We've got a lot of experience in professional services and data center operations. A lot of our team come out of the professional services world from consulting organizations that you would recognize or maybe have engaged with in the past. We built our entire platform and around a cloud ecosystem, which is what we think qualifies us to be talking about how to help you get to where you need to go in the cloud. I used to work with a guy who's a national television host now, but he used to say love was the most misunderstood word in the English language, and it's probably true, and I think cloud is probably the second most misunderstood word in the English language, so I'm going to hope to try to clear some of that up for you today. We do build all of our infrastructure around high availability design, use a very secure infrastructure, and we fully manage those things in our cloud environment. So hopefully those things will set the tone for why we think we're qualified to talk about cloud and how to help you get there. For those of you in the association space, being membership, trade organizations, we do spend a lot of time there. You'll recognize some of these names maybe if you've wandered around the association community for a while. Water Research Foundation, Financial Planning, Pharma, who is in DC. So we have a footprint of association clients across the country. I believe our association client count is approaching 100. And across our enterprise, we have about 225 customers that over the 11-year time span that we've dealt with in various capacities, from consulting and strategic planning all the way through IT operations and infrastructure management. So just a little bit of qualification, a little bit about what we do. We divide our services up into 3 areas just to kind of help think about where it is you might want to engage or you might need some help. certainly the left-hand side of what we think of as the elements of our services is the strategy pillar, if you will. It's advisory and strategic planning services, and we do a lot of work there with folks as virtual CTO, virtual CIO, for those organizations that need it. For larger organizations, we engage with the strategic planning function and business planning functions within IT and help extend their business strategies using the IT tools that are appropriate for what they're doing. Then in the operations pillar, we actually operate our own data centers, as you saw earlier. We do infrastructure services. We do lots of things around threat management and security. It's one of the big questions that comes up around the cloud is how secure is the cloud? We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we do lots of things with change management and disaster recovery and service level management, strategic implementations there. And then on the innovation pillar, that's the project side of our business. We have a traditional model there for delivering projects and engaging with our clients to manage risk and manage quality. And we engage with lots of folks around what it is they're looking for in terms of their business objectives. Then we match up technologies in concert with their teams to help build that product out and deploy it, and in some cases operate it. So that's the elements of BROS. If you combine all three of those areas together, we think of those things as managed services, and lots of our clients engage us on a managed services basis, and we do all three of those things for them. We also do them individually. One of the questions that always comes up is, what is this cloud thing? And I always throw this cartoon up because it really is kind of indicative of the CEO, CFO, COO, talking to IT and what the heck is this thing and how do I get our stuff into it and why is it important? So today what we're going to try to talk about for you, and we've got a fairly small group on the line, so I think Justin will be moderating if there are questions that come up. But feel free to type questions into the chat box or raise your hand in the chat box, and we'll try to address those as we go along. If not, we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So we're going to talk about what the cloud is and are you maximizing it. Some of you may not even be using it. Some of you may be using it in various ways. And just starting to get to put your toes in the water around the cloud. We'll talk about the future of the cloud, what's driving it, how to decide what options there are that are available, how does your business strategy fit with cloud solutions, how do you migrate and what the trends around, specifically in the association world, what AMS and CRM systems are doing, and how do you decide. And then there's always the question of how much control should the IT group keep, and how much should they be involved in cloud strategies? And the answer is a lot, obviously, but we'll talk about those things. And then, how does the cloud impact management policies such as security and log-on management, identity management, those sorts of things, and what's the right level of performance and security. So those are the learning objectives for today. Hopefully we'll cover all that ground as we go through the discussion today. So the first thing I want to tee up is what's driving cloud adoption. Why now? Why is the cloud something that we should all be looking at and thinking about? And, what are the drivers behind what's made it possible? We've been talking about the cloud in my career for decades, and there were lots of kind of strategic reasons why cloud or shared services or IT as a service, as some people call it, were important, and they've been around as concepts for a while. But there's a couple of important things that have happened over the last decade, especially, that are driving cloud adoption. And the first of those is bandwidth prices. I came out of the telecommunications industry years ago. We put a lot of bandwidth in the ground, and it's basically you can now get as much bandwidth today, well, you can get more bandwidth today in your home as we were able to put into data centers a decade ago. An example of that is if you were trying to stream a movie. I think most people are familiar with Netflix or some of the other streaming movie or video kinds of operations. If you were to stream a movie today, it usually costs about 5 cents in bandwidth, and that price has actually probably come down since I pulled this metric out of the available material. If you were to stream that same movie in 1998, it would have cost $270 in bandwidth. So just in the past decade plus, the prices of bandwidth have fallen dramatically. So the reality of that is that it doesn't take much now to connect everybody everywhere all the time and do it inexpensively, where we couldn't do that a decade ago. The second dynamic is Moore's Law, and for the geekier folks in the bunch, you'll know that Moore's Law is kind of the intersection of the fact that microprocessors double or triple in capacity every year to 2 years, and the price of them fall every 6 to 12 months. So the amount of computing horsepower that's available to us on our iPhones or Androids or whatever device you're carrying now far exceeds what we used to be able to put in massive data centers. So Moore's Law is making the technology that's available to us much more readily available. And it also means that whatever you buy today, this is one of the drivers around cloud, whatever you buy today in terms of hardware that you buy and install in your location is immediately obsolete. I think most of us have probably experienced I just bought my iPhone and the next one comes out 6 months later, and I feel compelled to go buy the newest one. At least I do. But everything that you buy today is obsolete just because of Moore's Law is driving the technology in a very rapid pace. And the last thing that's driving the cloud adoption is that the talent that you need to manage infrastructure, all of the servers, all of the network, all of the bandwidth, all of the applications that you need as a business. I was with an association client not too long ago that's relatively small, but they were running 19 applications within their enterprise, and running all of those different applications and all the infrastructure that it takes to run those is pretty hard. So talent as treasure is the last thing. So 3 pieces: bandwidth, prices, Moore's Law, the availability of technology, and the rapid pace of change there, and the fact that talent is so hard to come by. So, when I'm sitting in front of CEOs, COOs, CFOs, regardless of their industry, the question that I always seem to get from them is, are we doing the right things? Meaning, is information technology as either a group or my service providers, are we doing the right things with our IT? And what can we do to reduce costs and reduce specifically the cost of maintaining IT infrastructure, because Moore's Law makes everything we buy obsolete the day we buy it. And so within 2 or 3 years, I'm replacing all of that seems like every time I turn around, I'm asking, or somebody's asking me for money to replace servers, that sort of thing. How do I improve operational effectiveness? How do I get my folks in my IT group, which are rare talent and hard to come by talent, how do I get them focused on the strategic things that we're trying to do with IT? How do I get them building applications and providing services that are strategic and line up with my business plan, which is focused on new initiatives? And how do I leverage best-of-breed IT service providers? How do I rationalize the fact that I'm telling you there are cloud providers out there with consulting service providers, with commodity folks who are providing network services or server maintenance, those sorts of things? And how do I enhance IT service availability? These are the questions that I get from the C-suites and the management teams of the organizations that I deal with. So let's deal with some of those as we go through this today around how the cloud helps. So, when I talk to folks about the cloud, I want to take a step back and really kind of rationalize what it is that their objectives are. And when you talk about the talent as treasure and the fact that folks are expensive and hard to come by, yeah, the statement that I hear from folks is, I want to get people out of the business of watching blinking lights and move my resources to more strategic goals, eliminate downtime, improve security. Those are kind of common elements that have been around for years. The other things that I hear is, we've got all this content, we've got all this intellectual property that's important to us, and we have so much trouble finding it. I read a metric the other day from a study, an efficiency study that went across industries, and it said we spend as much as 20 to 40% of our day finding stuff. Meaning, which file folder is it in, literally on the shared drives, or, where's that email with that attachment? So we spend a lot of time trying to find content, and there are some things about the cloud and those technologies that make that more doable. The other thing that people say is, we'd love to know when something important changes that I need to see. We've all grown accustomed to this social construct, Facebook or LinkedIn or, the various social platforms that we use. We've all gotten used to having things pushed to us, meaning that we don't have to go looking for something. It gets pushed to us, sometimes in volumes that we can't manage, but there's a concept of making content social and letting content tell me when something important has changed about it that I need to know. The other thing that I hear a lot of is I want to be able to deliver services to any device, anywhere, anytime. I think we're starting to reach an inflection point, at least in the metrics that I'm seeing from my customers, that now tablets and phones and small footprint devices are starting to outweigh the desktop or laptop computers in terms of access. Certainly if you look at websites, by and large, people are coming to this from tablets now and from smaller footprint devices. And the last thing I hear as a mandate from the folks that we deal with is how do I collaborate with colleagues, partners, and the informal networks across all the organizational boundaries that we have. The cloud can make a lot of that possible. It's not instantaneous and it's not magic. It's not a silver bullet, but there are lots of technologies within the cloud that can make that possible. So let's talk about a few of those. When we talk about the cloud, we divide the cloud up in our conversations across kind of 3 domains, and these are things that you will hear. There's a great, the hybrid cloud, there's a great Dilbert cartoon where a boss walks in and asks the IT guy, says, can you explain to me in simple terms the hybrid cloud? And the response from the IT guy is, well, it's a technology you don't understand combined with another technology you don't understand. And the boss walks away completely confused, but hopefully we can clear some of that up for you. But when we divide up the conversation around cloud and what's important in understanding the cloud, there are 3 pillars. The first of those is the commodity cloud. That's what we refer to it as, and these are the tool sets that you hear about every day. And if you're using Google applications or Microsoft Office 365, or you're using some of the platforms like Yammer and Link, if you're looking at SharePoint online and those kinds of tools, those are things that have become commodities, and you can buy them by the seat. Literally, you can say, I want Office 365, and if you're a nonprofit, you can pay, certainly around $10 or $15 a month, which is incredibly cheap for that product. It gives you all of the access to things like all the Office suite, all of the things for collaboration and SharePoint online. If you're a commercial enterprise, you pay more for that. But there are tools in this space that are everywhere from free, if you're looking at Google Apps, to very low-priced and low-cost solutions from Microsoft in the Office 365 space. You can do things in this pillar around the commodity cloud, like get rid of your email management. If any of you have ever experienced any pain around managing an Exchange server, I feel your pain, and long ago got out of the business of managing Exchange servers because you can do all of that in the cloud now. So all of your email services, if you're tied to Exchange, can certainly be managed in a very low-cost way in the commodity cloud. You don't need to install servers. You don't need to build private clouds. You don't need to do anything there except sign up for a service. So the commodity cloud is things that you should be looking for that every business, I call these no-brainers later in the presentation, ought to be looking at, because the cost for getting logged in and set up on those services is so low compared to the long-term maintenance in maintaining those platforms, having an Exchange expert, having a network engineer, all those things to maintain all of that. So this is the first place that I tell people to attack adopting the cloud. Get into these commodity cloud products, do it thoughtfully, involve your IT group as you're having these discussions if you have one. If you don't, find an outside person who can help organize it and guide you in that area. But this is the first area for attacking the cloud. Then if you go all the way to the right-hand side of this, and we'll come back to the hybrid cloud in a minute, there are things that we do in the private cloud, and the difference between a private cloud and a public cloud, I'll talk to that for a second. So private cloud is essentially the very secure, very highly available, very well managed infrastructure, typically in a data center. Like in our scenario, we build our private clouds in one of our 3 data centers. We host applications for our clients that are very mission critical. In other words, they may be in a healthcare world, they may be HIPAA kind of compliant environments. They may have very sensitive data on them. They may need to be very highly available. Same thing in enterprises where there are associations. These may be their websites. It might be their financial systems. But there are strategic applications there that have to be up all the time, that have to be very closely managed, and have to be very, very secure. So that's a private cloud scenario, and that is one of the cloud options. There's also public clouds that I don't show on this diagram, but they are things like Amazon Web Services, which most folks have probably heard of by now. There's an option there to just the same way you do with the commodity cloud, kind of say I need a SQL server or I need a dynamic CRM application running in the cloud. The major distinction between public and private is the service level and the amount of security that you can achieve within each of those. So if you're going to do something in hosting mission critical applications, get some help around private cloud, public cloud implementations, whether it's from your IT group or from a consultant. There are places here where this can save you a lot of money. The main thing about these, and I'll show you some illustrations of this in a minute, is that you can shift from a capital expense in building out your private clouds and building out your infrastructure to operating expense, which is more pay as you go. In the hybrid cloud environment, these are places where you're bonding kind of the two or three things together. I might have some on-premise applications that I need to run locally. I may have disaster recovery scenarios that I need to facilitate if my applications are very, very mission critical. I may want to build a disaster recovery set up in the hybrid cloud so that I'm bonding my mainstream applications with something in the hybrid cloud so that if something fails, I've got disaster recovery and business continuity. There are some applications of unified threat management, meaning going beyond things like just basic security and virus protection. I want to do things like monitor for the Edward Snowden problem, for example. Somebody downloaded a bunch of intellectual property and I need some alerts around that. I may also need some things like single sign-on across all of these applications. One of the things about the cloud is that we're now seeing applications deployed in all of these environments, and integration and things like single sign-on, just passing identity from application to application so that your internal customers and external customers are not having to wrestle with multiple logins and remembering multiple passwords. Creating a single sign-on environment in a hybrid cloud is certainly a way to do that. So, another illustration of this in terms of what is the cloud, it's IT assets delivered over the internet. Going back to the slide earlier about why is that possible? We've got bandwidth everywhere now all the time. It's very rare that I talk to a client where bandwidth becomes an issue anymore. Certainly in remote locations, I have a client that has locations up on top of the mountains here, and they don't necessarily have the best internet. So that's a unique situation now. It's become rare that the internet and high bandwidth internet is hard to come by. It's almost everywhere. So, if I'm looking at adopting cloud, I'm looking at things like software as a service offerings like Office 365. We talked about those a minute ago. There are other things in that software as a service category. If any of you are using Concur for expense management or travel management, or in some cases, if you're using Salesforce, for example, there's a software as a service there. It's also a platform as a service as well. But there are software as a service offerings where you basically just sign up, say I want to use your service and pay by the month. That's the first level of cloud technology. The second level is infrastructure as a service, and this is the classic, I need a server and an application and an operating system to do X. And there are services out there from Azure and Amazon Web Services where you can say, I want Dynamics as a platform, and I have my own software, and I need infrastructure to run it. So you can go in to those environments, or you can come to someone like us and say, I need to run those in a private cloud infrastructure. How do we solve that problem? The third tier is more the platform as a service, where you take those applications and you have a service level agreement around all of those things around a specific application set. Not across all of your applications, but you say something like Project Online or Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics, I want to subscribe to that as a service, including everything around that application, but you don't have a service level agreement around things that are adjacent to that. So, but there are options to do platform as a service in kind of siloed application areas. The fourth level of cloud services is what we call managed applications in the cloud, managed services. And this is where we work with folks to kind of wrap managed services around all of their cloud delivery systems. Typically, all the top three have a service level agreement that stops at a very specific boundary. When we organize ourselves around managed services, we organize ourselves around all of your applications and help you come up with things like single sign-on for all of those things and do integration across all of them. Integration is the pain point across running multiple applications in multiple clouds. Single sign-on is probably the best example of that. If you have to have your customers logging on with different logins across different platforms, it can be quite painful. So, strategy by the numbers in terms of how to go at this, just expanding on some of that earlier theme. The commodity cloud, go after it. Look at things like Microsoft Office 365. You've got Exchange and email. Yammer is the enterprise social tool there. Things like SkyDrive, which is now OneDrive. If you're using Dropbox and other tools like that, there's a unified platform from Microsoft that ties all of that stuff together real nicely. We happen to be a Microsoft-centric organization, so we tend to recommend that quite a bit. There are other tools in this space. We just feel like Microsoft does a really great job in this commodity cloud of making all their products work together. Generally speaking, in the commodity cloud, it's out-of-the-box functionality. You're not going to get custom things from commodity cloud providers. You're going to take what they give you and hope that it fits your business needs there, and in most cases it does. What I often talk to people about is when people talk to me about customization, which will sound a bit counterintuitive because we build software for people sometimes, but we guide them towards buy, don't build. Only build what you need to build and integrate where you need to. Try not to build everything. So I push this commodity cloud a lot for people and tell them, look at your business process and see if you can change your business process a bit to adopt some of these things, because you'll get a lot more cost efficiency there. In the hybrid cloud, you'll need to adopt the hybrid cloud if you've got legacy applications. An example here is I've got a client who has a very, very old implementation of an accounting system that can't be virtualized and can't be pushed to the cloud, but they want to run everything else that they have in the cloud. And this is one of those options where a hybrid cloud would come into play. You move as much as you can to the cloud, and then you have to marry that to the legacy systems. There may also be situations where you have to keep mission-critical data and applications contained while you're moving them to different platforms, that sort of thing. And then there's places where you're connecting data from those things into the commodity cloud. So generally speaking, this is an on-premise kind of operation where you've got the servers and structure and infrastructure in place, and you're trying to marry it to the cloud. It's out-of-the-box functionality plus some custom integration. And then the third tier around the private cloud, mission-critical applications that you don't want to be in the public clouds or in the commodity cloud for security or sensitivity reasons or regulatory reasons, compliance reasons. There's all kinds of reasons why you might not want to put things in the commodity cloud or the hybrid cloud. You might want to set up a public or a private cloud to make that work. The summary of this is one size doesn't ever fit all scenarios. The great investment in starting this is to have somebody come in and help you build your strategy, take a look at all of the applications that you're running and all of the things that you have around infrastructure and build you a cloud plan, which is certainly a core part of our business, and there are other providers out there who do that. So step by step, I said find the right cloud partner, whether it's internal or external. And going through this, I would say that the first thing you need to recognize is that cloud is a game changer. In the 35 years that I've been in the technology business, I haven't seen anything change how we run technology and how we access technology more than the cloud. Certainly there are some drivers behind it like Moore's Law that's making it possible, but as a generally available technology, cloud is something that everyone should be looking at as a game changer. If you're not looking at it internally, if your IT folks are not looking at it, if you're a C-suite person and you're not looking at this, it'll overpower you at some point, meaning that somebody will come in with cloud-based technologies that you'll have to deal with somewhere as shadow IT. So acknowledge that you need to change and look at cloud as a game changer. The second thing is make sure IT is working on the right things. Make sure that your business plan and your IT plan are aligned. There are plenty of studies out there that talk about what people in the information technology jobs spend their time on. For the most part, the studies show that IT folks spend about 80% of their time doing maintenance work, just keeping the lights on, and about 20% of their time doing strategic things. And you can see where there might be opportunity there if you can switch that from 80-20 to 20-80, where there's opportunity for those folks to apply their talents in a different way, in different areas and on more strategic things. So make sure you're working on the right things, understand what your people are spending their time on, and there's a real opportunity for shifting 80-20 to 20-80 so that your folks are spending their time on things that are more aligned with the business plan. Make sure you're doing things the right way. Do a formal assessment around your IT strategy and your business strategy, and make sure cloud's a part of that. The fourth thing is make sure you understand the true cost of IT. I work with a lot of clients who have a lot of shadow IT spend, meaning they don't really understand that implementing Concur is an IT cost, or using Salesforce is an IT cost, and they tend to allocate those things out into departments. If you understand the true cost of your IT services, you're more able to consolidate the spend and understand where you can invest to change the game going forward. The fifth thing is make a plan to adopt alternative delivery models. Cloud and hybrid and commodity hybrid cloud or commodity clouds are all going to be game changers. As I said earlier, you need a plan to adopt those things. Once you're lined up with your business plan, make a plan to adopt these things. The most progressive folks that I'm dealing with in the association space, for example, are the CIOs and CTOs are out in front of this now and making plans to adopt these strategies as part of their business plan. And the last thing is be prepared to redeploy your personnel. You're going to change what your IT people and your technical people are working on if you adopt cloud. They're going to be less focused on watching blinking lights and racking and stacking, as we call it in the industry, servers in a data center, and dealing with hard drive failures and network failures and those sorts of things. And they're going to be spending more of their time on strategic initiatives and how to serve your business better. So that's the step-by-step in terms of understanding the cloud and how to get there. This is a busy slide, but I know that Justin will make these available for you to look at later and download. The things that I would tell you about this slide is the things on the left-hand side are the things that are impacted as you move things from internal servers that you have in a data center or a closet somewhere. As you move them through the migration from being on-premise to being in the cloud, the things on the left-hand side are the things that are impacted by that move. And the two things that are most impacted, I would show you here, because they're circled, are the CapEx, OpEx utilization and how your in-house staff deals with that change. So you can see that in the typical migration is from on-premise, I've got servers in a data center, I've got servers in a closet somewhere that I have to manage. The first step traditionally to get out of that business was to move to a co-location facility. It still had my servers, still had my name on them. They just lived in somebody else's data center where they provided space, power, access. So you had cleaner power, you had access to it that was secure, and you had the space that you needed to build those things out. That was always the first traditional step. And then you've heard me talk about infrastructure services, platforms as a service, all the way out to managed services. Those things are game changers in these two areas specifically. You go from highly capital-intensive environment in the on-premise environment to a very OpEx efficient kind of model in the platform of service and in managed services. Same thing with staffing. Your staffing is now not watching blinking lights. They're spending now 80% of their time on strategic initiatives and helping line up with the business plan rather than watching those blinking lights. There's lots of other things here, scalability, reliability. Security is always a big question that comes up. Around, cloud, is the cloud really secure? There's kind of an urban myth out there that the cloud is not as secure. And I would suggest to you on the on-premise model, and I would make a bet with almost anybody in the room that I could walk into their site if they have an on-premise set of servers, and I would pretty much bet you that their security infrastructure is not up to date, because it's difficult for in-house personnel to manage those constant. I mean, it's a constant threat that has to be managed. When you're in the cloud, if you've got the right provider and the right system set up, that all comes with that environment. So you're doing things like constant monitoring of security threats and vulnerabilities, and you're responding to things like my intellectual property is getting downloaded, to somebody's thumb drive. Those things come with these cloud environments with the right strategy. So I would suggest to you and submit to you that in most cases, cloud infrastructure is more secure than on-premise or co-location environments managed by internal resources. And lots of other things around portability and all that. I'll leave that to you folks to download and take a look at this and pop any questions back to me that you might have. But those are the two biggest things that I would say about those things. For those, I always get from my association clients, what are the candidates I should be looking at in terms of my applications? What should I move to the cloud and when? If you look, it's a kind of a busy chart again, but if you look at kind of the move to the cloud on the left-hand side there, and what your relative budget spend would be for those things. The lower left of this, the things that you should move in the short term. And these are not hard numbers. These are relative numbers on, a $10,000 to $1 million scale. So don't take these as literal costs. Oops, I ended up moving there. So don't take these as literal costs. They're more to give you some guidance on a scale of, low investment to high investment. But in the lower left-hand corner, in the short-term things for my association friends and folks in the healthcare space, email certainly is something you should move into the cloud in the short term. Don't manage Exchange servers. It's not cost feasible unless you have thousands and thousands of users, and even then, I would say it's probably not. So I would look at email first. It's the first short-term, easiest win around moving those things to the cloud. Then your intranets, if they're not already in the cloud, you can move those to platforms like Google Apps or SharePoint Online. In your CMS platforms where you're maintaining websites and content across various consumers, at this point, we have about 100,000 users who are accessing content over websites for our clients, and these CMS platforms become pretty important, and we always recommend that those things get moved into the cloud very quickly. Things like event management, certainly in the lower left quadrant as well. And then kind of on the bubble there, workflow and learning management systems as well are things that should be looked at as short-term opportunities. The last thing in terms of long-term would be accounting systems, those core systems that probably are pretty stable, run pretty well where they are now. Lots of times in the accounting and back office systems, we virtualize those things and move them to the cloud. And it's typically, easy is always a tough word to say, but it's fairly straightforward to move those things unless those systems are old mainframe systems that we don't run into much anymore. And then on the right-hand side where the difficulty gets higher, certainly when you're looking at association management systems or CRM systems in the common vernacular, those things tend to become longer-term migrations because they touch so many things, and they are at the core of so many things. So those are things that should be looked at very carefully for long-term, but we do recommend moving those things to the cloud over a relatively long period of time. And when I say that, I mean in an 18 to 24 to 36 month kind of time frame versus 6-month time frame. These are busy slides, again, available for you for download, but there's two slides here. One is capital expenditure versus operating expense slide, TCO comparison, total cost of ownership. And the difference between red and blue is the capital expense versus operating expense. And this is a real scenario for one of our clients. This is what they were facing in as they looked at, they kind of were coming to the end of a life cycle. Their servers were aging. They were looking at a swap to refresh their infrastructure because we have basically a guideline that's become something of an industry standard. If the equipment that you're using is older than 3 years old, you need to replace it. Nothing lasts 5 or 10 years anymore. These things are basically typewriters. in the old world, where you need to be, replacing them when they break. And if they're older than 3 years old, you can't get parts for them, and nobody will maintain them. So this client was looking at their infrastructure was aging. In some cases, they were well beyond the maintenance cycles. They were in their 5th year in some cases for some of the infrastructure. So they were looking at a pretty heavy capital expenditure for refreshing infrastructure, almost $600,000 in capital expenditures to replace those things. And they were looking at another, $325,000 in operating expense for projects and, human resources and refreshing application infrastructure and software. So they were going to spend about $900,000 in what we call year 0, or the base year, for refreshing their infrastructure and getting everything up to snuff where it needed to be. And you can see how that progresses. It certainly drops off after a couple of years, but with using the 3-year refresh cycle, you can see how it ramps back up in the out years in year 3, 4, and 5. You're back up to spending, $825,000 to over $850,000 a year in constantly refreshing this infrastructure. If you switch to a cloud-based infrastructure, which this client did, you see a dramatic difference here. You see that in the base year, they spent $433,000, and a very small part of that was operating expense or capital expense. So they had a little bit of an investment in CapEx on the front end. Then they were pretty much paying as you go for infrastructure. They were using operating expense money instead of capital expenditure, so they're not in that cycle of coming up with a big bump of refresh every 3 years. So they were able to minimize their capital expenditure, and they were able to save over $1 million over a 5-year time span in terms of making the switch to the cloud. And this was an IT group that made this switch, so it was pretty significant in terms of what they were able to do. The IT group led this charge. So I'll wrap up by saying, if you look for partners in this space, internally and externally, we think engaging a managed services partner in this space, the space is new enough that it makes a difference in terms of having some history of having done this. And in our world, we've done this a lot at this point, and it will help you accelerate your cloud adoption. It'll improve service levels, and we always focus so much on the business plan, making sure we understand what you're trying to achieve. We're technologists, but we're also a bunch of MBAs and financial people running around when we talk to your business. And we always want to understand what your business is trying to accomplish there. So you can accelerate that pretty quickly by engaging the right partner. As you saw, it'll flatten the IT cost curve, and we always use stabilize, standardize, simplify. So we talk about S3 or S cubed in our world a lot, and we think that's one of the values of engaging a partner in this space. A couple places where you can actually see, Justin's got a link here to download case studies. There's a couple of real-world environments that you can see how the cloud works through their public-facing websites. Water Research Foundation, www.waterrf.org is a public-facing website. They focus on water quality across the country. They have 1,500 or so institutional members. I don't know, tens of thousands of people actually accessing that website. There's a lot of things that we did there around the hybrid cloud environment. We did their public-facing website. They have an ERP system for accounting, and so you can see all the things there. Financial Planning Association, same way, onefpa.org. If you want to look at those, both of those websites are publicly accessible without a login. They do have private content, so you can't get behind the paywall without a login, but these are public websites that you can take a look at. Just some examples of how we've applied cloud technologies across these enterprises, and there are lots of other examples in our case studies that you can download from our website. So hopefully I've been able to help you avoid this guy's dilemma. I always think of this as a CIO, CTO, COO, whatever, who couldn't get their head around the cloud computing thing. So hopefully this has been helpful for you today. And I'll turn it back to Justin for addressing any questions or wrap up.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Just a couple other items here. If you do want to reach out to us, obviously, we would love to help you guys out in building your cloud strategy, whether it's at an advisory level role or all the way up to, helping you complete the task of it. Please reach out to myself or Rick on the side there. We can also answer any questions, help you out, point you in the right direction. Whatever you guys need, we're here for you. We just specialize in this association space and in this particular topic. So along with some other project work and a lot of other topics that we do work in. So you'll see our emails there on the right, our website down there on the bottom. I also highly recommend connecting with us. Our videos from past webinars, this video, all that stuff gets pushed through our social media. The YouTube channel is pretty easy to kind of memorize. It's Simplified Technology / Simplified Technology on the youtube.com URL. Please do follow us in those areas, and you'll see all of our content coming out. A couple other items that aren't on this slide. Actually, we do have some events coming. We will be in Washington on April 16th, and I'll send this out in a follow-up email, an invitation to these upcoming things. And Essential Executive is what it's called. It's the second time we've run it. And this event will encompass a lot of association examples, as well as a security panel, executive security panel. It's at Excelsior College. Will be a great event if you are in the DC area on April 16th. And we're providing a free lunch, so who doesn't want a free lunch, right? So another topic we'll be covering there is going to be member engagement and marketing automation as well. And the last topic we're going to be discussing is integrations of your alphabet soup, basically, your AMS, LMS, and all that fun stuff. So again, a lot of really good stuff coming up. If you guys do have any questions, we'd love to help you out. And I'll send you guys a follow-up email with this slide deck as well as the video link. So